New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert, forgetting to turn off the banner image here on New Thought Media Network. It's New Thought Today. Happens every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, and I'm here with my dear friend and good buddy, Reverend LZ Sekou. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon. Glad to be here.
Glad you are with us as well. And I tell you, folks, one of the most amazing things that we get to do around this network is talk to amazing people. And if this is your first time with us, we might not know that what Reverend LZ and I like to do is get together with our guests for about a half an hour beforehand and chat and talk and get to know each other, and then do an interview. So today I want to introduce you to a new amazing friend of the network and a guy that has a lot of stuff that he's working on and doing, and we're excited to share who he is a little bit with you today. Allow me to introduce Fabian Thomas. He's a member of the Universal Center of Truth for Better Living in Kingston, Jamaica, as well as the director of their youth ministry. He's currently an adjunct lecturer in the Faculty of Careers and Humanities at the Vocational Training Development Institute and the School of Continuing Studies at the Micah University. He is a transformational trainer, facilitator, life and corporate coach, artistic director, poet, spoken word artist, and actor. Sounds like a man after my own heart. Fabian's writings have been published in more than a dozen collections and anthologies. He self-published his first New Thought-inspired book recently entitled New Thought, New Words. It's a collection of affirmations, gratitude verses, and spoken word. Did that back in 2018. He's also a contributing writer for the UFBL, or what's also known as the Universal Foundation for Better Living's signature publication, The Daily Inspiration. His first children's book, Djembe, was self-published in February of 2022, and Tribal Elements, a Tribe Ting, volume number 1, which is a chapter book of original writings by members of the tribe Sankofa. I forgot to check on the pronunciation on that one, so apologies if I got that wrong. Sankofa. All right, there we go. And that is part of the collective's 10th anniversary celebration. He also hosts a YouTube show. So again, a man after our own heart called Fabian Sa. Please search him out on YouTube. Head on over to his page, hit that subscribe button, and give him all the likes and views that you possibly can. We all know how far that goes a long, long way in making sure his word gets out. Fabian also holds a BA in Mass Communication and Literature from the University of the West Indies, Mona, and an MA in Public Communications from Fordham University here in the United States. Fabian, welcome to New Thought Today.
Greetings and salutations. I'm so happy to be here. Blessings.
Grateful you are with us. And the big thing that one of the biggest reasons we were able to get you on the show and that we've become acquainted with each other is the Celebrating Our Soul conference, which is only 15 days away now, guys, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
15 days. Yeah.
When you put it like that.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't say it like that because I'm not quite ready yet. So just, it's coming next month. That sounds better.
Yes, the month that starts in about 9 days. Yes, I hear it. So Fabian, you're involved. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the conference and what role and what parts you get to play in all this.
So you know how these things go, So my pastor, our senior pastor, Reverend Sheila McKeithen, said to myself and a colleague, Eileen Lewis. So do you guys want to represent UCT on a committee planning a conference that has a youth element? And we said, oh yes, no problem. This was over a year ago. So this has been a journey of so now when you say 15 days, it's like this has been this journey, this process of saying yes to something, and then because of the virtual reality, what it allows us to do. So myself and Eileen we're here in Jamaica, and then our other colleagues are in different parts of America, and it's been just an amazing process of, first of all, getting to know each other, the energies, and seeing kind of visioning. What were we visioning for this youth conference in terms of our work and our offering? Getting in touch with each other's rhythms and energies, and then the bigger picture for the conference, and from how many masks do we need, and how much space do we need, and who's doing the logistics, and Reverend Jerry Hobby, who is the lead of the committee, has an interesting way of making you think you volunteer for something. She says, I see Fabian leading this, and you're like, oh, you do? And the next thing you know, you're leading it. But I think when we enter any process saying yes and being open to serving, I find that you grumble and complain less, because you keep in your mind, what is the vision? What is the goal? And I said yes to this. And it's been that beautiful journey and the way we've supported each other. And as you said, I'm looking forward to 15 days time, actually being in the throes of things, the thick of things.
And I concur with you, and I'm getting more excited. Let me say it that way. And that this idea of leadership and how we own it, how it's sometimes thrusted upon us, and looking at the prevailing environment that we find ourselves in.
Yep.
Leadership is needed more than ever, and it needs to come from all kind of places so that we can cover all the bases. You know what I'm saying?
Very much so. Because even in terms of learning, and that thing about leadership is, am I flexible enough to say, okay, I thought this was the plan, but something else is appearing as another lesson. So for instance, we are low on youth enrollment. I think we're pretty good with adults. I think we're at 300 and plus, and they've added a virtual element. We had not considered a virtual element for the youth, but we're doing that now because we're realizing with youth enrollment kind of low, maybe if we opened it up and had a virtual element for the youth who couldn't physically be on site will be. So we actually have a meeting later on today where we're going to be talking about and unpacking that a bit more, saying, okay, what can we do virtually, in addition to the face-to-face plan that we had,
right?
Because that's just where we are.
Right. And as quiet as it's kept, or maybe not so quiet, that's when leaders really shine, right? When they are given these unexpected conditions that we have to work with, and and then we get the proverbial, you make lemon out of lemonade. That's it. And so
when you are nudged out of your comfort zone,
yes, yes,
or thrust, as the case may be.
Well, and I think that's one thing that the conference, in terms of how I'm feeling as we get closer to celebrating our soul, is really a thrust, right?
Yes.
I think because the word soul is used so lightly nowadays, I think.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem, and it could be the craziness in my mind, but it doesn't seem to carry the same emphasis as it did when I was growing up, right? And I think this idea of thrusting our soul and celebrating, and by celebrating, you have to thrust it.
Yes.
It gives us an opportunity once again to begin to be, as the prevailing word, authentic, right?
Yes.
But we have to celebrate the soul, because if we don't celebrate what's there, we will begin, as it says in the Bible, you will put your light under a bushel.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I think energetically, all over the world, and even in things that seem negative, whether it's a particular world leader who's presenting in a particular way, or is doing and saying things that seem negative, it sparks an impetus for positivity to rise.
Yeah.
It pushes us out of our comfort zone, and suddenly people start to say, but I have this power in me, I can do this. And even if you look at popular culture and music and movies, a lot of artists have shifted where they're coming from. Recently I was saying to some friends, I said, if they thought the original Black Panther was huge, have you seen the trailer for Wakanda Forever?
I haven't yet, but I just saw that they had
It
crazy trailer watching.
It is mind blowing, because what the movie did and generated, and the way we fell in love with our brother Chadwick, and he's no longer with us on this plane.
Yeah.
But this film became it was a bomb. It was a healing, and I think even as well as it did, they didn't think people were gonna dress up and show out. And I'm thinking, if they thought the first one was huge, this trailer they just dropped. It's just because it's speaking to people on a different level. It's moving beyond pop culture to who are you? What is possible? Who's your tribe? What does it mean to be a king? What does it mean to be a queen? What does it mean to love your community? What does it mean to impact the world? So a lot of artists have energetically shifted to, I want to make bolder statements. I love India Ari. When you hear India talk, and she's saying some of the things I was hiding before, I'm going to talk about them now.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for people to know. And, from day one, some artists, you mentioned soul. I tell people, I believe Aretha Franklin was the queen of everything. Vocally, she was the queen of every single thing. But Aretha had a way of, when she opened her mouth, what came out of her, I always say, was God. And there's some artists who have that. That is God. That is spirit and ancestors said, I've chosen this vessel who's having this spiritual being, having a human experience to do this work. And those of us who are discerning, or either you're not, when you hear it or see it, you know that this is something different.
Yeah.
This is not the run of the mill.
And the thing that you said that kind of spurred me up there was, I haven't seen the movie yet, Aretha, with Jennifer Hudson in it, but I heard it's excellent. But just knowing a little bit and watching the clips, her queenship, if you will, was an act of, I believe, celebrating her soul when you look at her life that led up to her becoming the queen.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
And so if you go back to that original statement you made about this whole good and evil, good and bad thing, from a God perspective, if God made everything and everything was good, then there truly is no bad. Now, we understand that there are desirable and undesirable things.
Right.
There are things that are wanted and there are things that are unwanted. There are things that are life affirming and not so much life affirming.
Yes.
But that is the culmination, that is the creation, that is the wholeness of life.
Yes.
And celebrating our soul is going to give us that.
Yeah. And that's what the beautiful thing is. Even when we started meeting, I said the name of this conference is just so powerful and beautiful. And for the youth, we wanted to do activities and things that spoke to that made them, gave youth an opportunity to have these conversations with themselves and with us about, who am I? What does my soul mean? What is the journey of my ancestors that has brought me to this space? So we're using spoken word and music and art and craft to have those conversations, to do activities. We're doing, some stretching, some walks in nature, a mixture of things, because we're going to get all different kind of youth, so people can really tune in and plug into what works for them. So we're using the performing arts, spoken word, nature, music. John Stringer is going to be doing some stuff with him, and I didn't know John before, and I actually got to meet him virtually and have a meeting with him, and just his soul is luminous, just the openness of his energy, and I was like, I'm looking forward to sharing space with this brother and doing this work. And so we're very, very excited, because I think it's a youth really need the space, and as a teacher and mentor, I just find we were talking earlier about the heavy focus on assessment and passing tests, as opposed to creating space to discuss, who are you? What do you love? Why do you think you're here? What's your purpose? What are you adding to the world on this journey? For me, that is so much more an important part of this than, oh, you did well in a test, and because you got an A, you are brighter than this student. And these students are remedial, as opposed to, you're all extensions of God. You all have the God power and the God light in you. And it's just about helping you find out how you're going to bring it forth, that you're not less than, you're not remedial, you are beautiful and amazing and magnificent. And when you step into that, you are going to shift the world wherever you go. And more young people, and even not so young, need to hear that and have that. Sometimes I'm blown away, and sometimes it brings me to tears when I say what I think is simple things, and students say to me, or young people, nobody has ever said that to me. Yeah. And it breaks my heart, like, wow. And a lot of people say, nobody is pouring into me. It's more of I'm being picked at, and being, and even spaces to talk about my soul and celebrate me as I am. People want to fix you, or you need to lose some weight, and you're in Jamaica, we're having an issue with bleaching, skin bleaching. So a lot of dark-skinned Jamaicans, interestingly, we are a 95% black country in Jamaica. And there's this thing, and people are investing in products and wearing long sleeve things in the sun so they don't get too dark. And because they're saying dark skin is not cool, it's not sexy, they don't like how it looks. And that's based on environment, what people are hearing, as opposed to however you came out of your mother. Yeah. You're beautiful. You're amazing. But very few people ever hear that.
It would take me 2 days to just try to say what you just got my mind rolling on here. But I'm gonna break it to two things. See, I think if we go back to ancient cultures, and this isn't all ancient culture, but I know the most about African Egyptian culture. Mm-hmm. The way individuals were crowned, if you will, is that they were initiated. Yes. They were initiated, and all the other cultures, you were initiated into different crafts and guilds. Now, we know that went south because it created this crazy class system, which we don't want to deal with. However, the process of initiation allows you to do things and play things and make things happen or not happen, so that you begin to understand things at a less than physical, or more than physical level, rather. And now you begin to find your way in that, and you become initiated. And by fooling around with all these things, you have your 1, 2, 3 things that you're really keen on, but you get initiated into a wholeness that allows you to use the other things as sundry things and focus on that. Now, the thing that I got to go watch the Black Panther trailer now, but one activity you might do, because it just popped in, show them that trailer and then go into this whole thing about what it means to initiate your soul or celebrate your soul in terms of da. Yes, I was excited right then.
Definitely, because
if you can't tell.
Yeah, because even at the first Black Panther, that it presented and when you thought that a lot of these black children, but also even adults, had not seen a black superhero, a black king, that we don't. And it's sometimes you watch things and I'm thinking, why is this impacting me? Queen Sugar, I'm like,
Yes.
We're not used to the camera lovingly zooming in on black folk, saying "I love you" to each other. And I'm thinking, how sad that this is not our norm. And so, like I said, a lot of that shift. Oh, and now that we're connected, so we have to talk. When you watch the Jennifer Hudson, Aretha one, watch the Cynthia Erivo one, and then you and I should have a talk. Because I watch both.
Tonight.
I watch both, and I preferred one of them.
Okay, so the Cynthia Erivo and Jennifer.
Yes.
Okay.
Then
I'm writing it down.
Watch them, and then we should talk. So for celebrating our souls, we're very excited, and as I said, we're now looking at, let's get this virtual element added, and even in terms of the packaging, because if there are youth in the Kansas City area who can come with a chaperone, or groups that can come together as opposed to being residential. So we've also started to have that conversation to get other youth involved. And we're just so excited and looking about sharing space and creating this experience for these youth. And for me, every time I teach, facilitate, I learn, I get poured into. I think it's a two-way process.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm this erudite source of knowledge, the unshakable oracle, come to educate you. Rubbish. If I'm not open to being present, to being talked to and ministered to and blessed by who's in front of me, I think I missed the point.
Yeah. And so you just remind me of that scene in Matrix where Matrix goes and asks the oracle, you know, give me the juice. She said,
what's her name? Gloria. Oh yeah, that scene, beautiful.
And she said, I ain't got no juice for you. You got your own juice.
As she lit her cigarette, she said, "Look, dude, why do you think I have your answer? That's not how it works."
Yes, but you know, we're having fun with this, but that is really what we have to begin to create with the kids. Create that curiosity and that investigation, and then when they feel like they're stumped, we give them the crown and the thorns, if you will, that says, yes, you have the tools, the knowledge, but you gotta figure out when to put one on and take one off, and vice versa.
There you go. And I think of, what do you think? And let them answer. What do you think? What do you, and you get them now into this idea of deconstructing ideas and critical thinking. You know, I used to work with a hotel chain, very popular hotel chain in Jamaica, and I went in as entertainment manager and then became training and development manager. And when I was managing these young people who were called entertainment coordinators, well, that hotel calls them playmakers. They come and they say, "Oh, Mr. Thomas or sir, so and so and so and so happened. This happened," and then I'd pause and I'd go, "Oh, you're waiting for me to tell you the answer? Well, what do you think? What do you think we should do?" And I'm going to say 8.5 to 9 times out of 10, they had an idea.
Yeah.
But I was supposed to, because I was the manager, I was supposed to. And I was like, "No, what do you think?" And I used to always say to them, "At least try something. You know, you've been working for me for a while. You know the business. Go inside and figure out, what should I do about it? And tell me what you tried." As opposed to, and so many of them, even years after working with me, said, "Thank you so much for challenging me and giving me autonomy of my ideas and thoughts." Because a lot of other people, the leader shut them down. If it doesn't come from me, how dare you have a thought?
Yes.
And even I say to parents, how dare you have an idea? Ask the child what they think. Stop getting upset when she says she doesn't like this dress. She doesn't like the dress. You think it's great. She thinks it's itchy and ugly, and that's okay. Don't get mad.
Yeah. Well, and that point that you made there made me think about what you said. I don't know if we said it off air. You said at the beginning, we don't ask them for information anymore. We are so used to telling, because we're the great grand poobah. We gonna tell them what to do, as opposed to giving them the scenario and tools to figure out what to do.
Yes.
And I love, there's this verse in the Bible. I think they asked Jesus, "Are you the Christ?" And he says, "Well, who do you say I am?" I'm not
Yep.
going to get caught up in your definition or your
Yes.
look. Who do you say I am? And that'll be good for you. We don't
Yeah.
need to put it on nobody else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on down the street till I get another question.
Yes.
And
Like I
and
always. Yes. Go ahead.
the other point that I heard in there, and I want to make sure we highlight it, is this is new thought. We
Yeah.
don't teach you what to think.
Ah.
And it's central to who we are. We don't teach you what to think. We teach you how to think.
Right. And some people it unravels them because they've come to church for you to get the answer.
Yeah.
For the pastor to say, this is what you think. People gotta go, what do you mean? What do I think? What do you mean it's okay to disagree with you? What?
Yeah.
And some people, they're like, oh no, this is not for me. This is some other kind of thing. Everyone wants, Reverend Sheila, and she says this all the time. She said, I just read a few more books and got qualified.
Yeah.
You don't need me to get to God. You don't need people. People are like, what? Because the pastor is supposed to be the pathway. And how can I be? And she says, I just read a few more books and got qualified. You have a direct line to the Holy Spirit. You don't need my permission. You don't need me. You don't need me. And so for me, it opens up this beautiful space. Mm-hmm. As you said, for us at the center of our being, who are you? What is resonating with you? What is you? And for me, there's a beauty in that, whether it's youth or not so young, of when you come to the knowingness that's in you. That's inside you, when it generates. I say to somebody, I do training and facilitation, I teach, I'm in the performing arts, and I know that's why I'm here. Because when I'm doing those things, I'm in that zone. And I know spirit is with me and my ancestors, and I can feel them. I don't have to question it. And I know this is bigger than me, but it is my spot. This is my place. And I think the biggest thing for education is helping people feel that. When you feel that thing that says to you, yes, this is my purpose moment. And then you find and then some people have several kinds of those things, but you find ways now to draw those things to you or create those things because you know at the core of your being that this is your purpose and why you're here.
I'm sitting here chomping at the bit, right? like, let's get this race started now. because
I want to wait 15 days. Is that what I just heard? I want to wait 15 days here?
I'll wait. But what has me chomping is when Fabian, when he just gave that soliloquy, if you will, his whole energy, his everything exhibited the words. Don't you see? You know what I'm talking? Don't you see? I know what I'm talking about. If somebody had come by and not seen it, or knew what we were talking about, rather, and they saw that, they would have said, "I'm not quite sure what he's talking about, but he's passionate about it. He has some authority in it and over it, and he is making sure at multiple levels, even if you understand it, you feel it, right?" And so when we look at our youth today, our young people, we have to begin to have them, in addition to getting the information, we have to get them to begin to feel that information. So that it begins to resonate at different points of the body, or different spots in the brain, or different articulations of the idea, so that they can begin to be themselves and celebrate their soul.
So, and again, just that whole thing of, the way popular culture should say, Lena Waithe has a show called The Shy. And in this season, they've added Jason Wheeler as an ex-con, and he has brought such light and grace in the way he plays this former inmate. There's a vulnerability, and he's questioning who he is and his self-worth, and he's reconnecting with a friend. And now he is showing up as a mentor to a young kid who's running the street, who's homeless, who's trying to rob people, and he's saying to him, "What are your dreams?"
Yeah.
And the young man is asking, "Why do you care about me?" He said, "Because nobody asked me that, and I see you doing this, and I don't want you to go down this road. So come." And I'm thinking, such this beautiful thing of this man, ex-convict who's on his own self-discovery journey, who recognizes the need to stand up and be present for this young man. And, you know, a lot of our so many youth, and especially young men, need that.
Yeah.
Need people who are standing for them, who are seeing beyond what is appearing and saying, "I'm holding space for you and holding consciousness for you. And I'm speaking over you and pouring into you because I can probably see what you can't even see yet. But I'm seeing it for you. I'm holding it." And that is an amazing gift that I think we all have to share with people, to say, I just see so much in you. It's now providing space and a listening ear, whatever opportunities to explore and unpack that. And I'm hoping, again, for these youth who come to the conference, that it might be a starting point or continuation of that journey for them.
Yeah, and you know, I had this epiphany as you were saying that on the concept of holding space, right? Because what popped into my mind as you were talking is that as teachers, mentors, parents, gurus, oracles, anyone that's disseminating information, my job is really to hold the space so you can come feel it.
Hey,
yeah, because so all of my wrangling and whatever I'm doing to you ain't to upset you or aggrandize you, just for you to come and take this space. And I'm giving you the parameters. It's 2 feet this way and a foot that way, or whatever it is, so that when you stand as a young person, now we rolling, because there's no concept of inconsistencies or any of that in your mind. You've worked out the space. You've measured. You know, that's why you go to Egypt. They're always talking about these measurements. They're measuring space, which includes time. And so now we need our young people to step into that, because they are the future. But I ain't trying to put no pressure on them though. But
And I find when I if there's something that I say, and every time I say it, people are really impacted by that, and sometimes athletes repeat it. And I say, you know, as you grow into yourself and your beingness, it's important to, in Jamaica, there's a saying, smile up yourself. Like, you know, and you say, don't smile up yourself, take space, but then also make space. Because that's the other piece of that coin, is you take the space that you need to shine and soar, but then you make space for others. And that's such an important kind of yin and yang kind of thing. Yeah.
Take space and make space. I love this. This is a good one. Hey, folks, if you wonder what you've stumbled into, this is New Thought Today here on the New Thought Media Network. We're here every Tuesday afternoon. Myself and my co-host, Reverend LZ, our special guest, Fabian Thomas, today, all the way from Kingston, Jamaica. We're going to take a quick break and let everybody grab a drink of water and do a quick little chair yoga stretch type thing. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We've got more with Fabian Thomas here on New Thought Today in just a minute. We'll be right back. And we're back with more of New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. Welcome back. Our special guest today is Fabian Thomas from Kingston, Jamaica, and part of this amazing portion of the Celebrating Our Soul conference. You're up to your eyeballs in the youth aspect of this, Fabian, and
Yes.
I keep hearing this theme in our conversation today, and it really strikes me that I was just at a conference and got to meet Reverend Sheila for the first time, and I find it amazing how often, even with spiritual leaders, even with adults that have been around this philosophy for quite a while, when you sit down face to face and you're knee to knee and you share with someone the authentic truth that you see of them, most of us just are not. We don't hear that. And it takes us by surprise a little, and it often raises a little bit of emotion. And in our conversation, what I'm hearing is, well, that's because they didn't get this when they were a kid. And even as adults, we're not very accustomed to receiving such profound truth about our spiritual divinity and our spiritual experience, and how important it is that you're getting to these younger generations and helping them to see their authentic truth as well. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the work that you're doing in Jamaica, specifically with your center there. And I'm sorry, I've already taken down that screen and don't have the name in front of me. And Universal Center of Truth.
Truth for Better Living, yes.
Living. Tell us a little more about your program there.
So we are. I'm going to say we're one of the few UFBL churches who kept the youth ministry thing going. We went virtual. So with COVID, we said, let's dig in. So Reverend Sheila asked me to step up from being a teacher to being the director of the youth ministry. And I said, we should revamp and go virtual. And our sister church, Verity in Canada, they were doing, I think, one Sunday a month, but we were every Sunday. And as a teacher, the lessons I learned was the youth would always say, and I had the older teens, I had the 13 pluses, they'd always say, Uncle Fabian, we love the way you talk to us as if our thoughts are important. That even when you're teaching us a new concept, the way we sit around the table and we discuss and you ask us what we think and we get to question, and they said we love that. We love the games and activities, but you talk to us and you make us feel. And I loved it. I love that idea of how do you bring forth the spiritual concepts, the ideas, the scripture, the history, but also make it engaging, make it fun, and make it not feel like school. Because sometimes they say, sometimes it feels like another assignment. No. and so for me, it's always been that thing of making it youth-centered, youth-centric. I'm thinking, will this work? As opposed to, is this my adult brain, saying this is what they need, but also asking them, what do you want us to cover? Or even what lessons do you want us to go back over? And I love when they actually come back. So a couple of years ago, we were doing the creation story. One of the kids came back and he said, so, Uncle Fabian, I'm trying to figure out geographically where on earth could the ark fit? It's like, what land space was big enough to hold a structure of this size that was necessary? And then he said, and we went through, and I said, well, we talked about allegory and this stuff not being like, and he said, oh, and then when we were done, he said, at the end of the session, he said, Uncle Fabian, thank you so much, because when I ask these questions in school or in my religious education class at school, I get told I'm a troublemaker and I get shut down. And I told him I had the exact same experience in high school. And it was the creation story. We were told to read it. I went and read it, came back, and I said, "So, Miss," I said, I have some questions about the reading." And I said, "It seems to me that there are two creation stories in it." "No, there's only one." I'm like, "Wait," I said, "Wait, Miss, hold on." I said, "In one version, it said God created all the stuff and named them by himself or by its." Well, I was saying himself, I was saying itself then. I said,
Yes.
"But then later, Adam helped him." I said, "That seems like there's two versions." And she got very quiet. And she said, "Anyway, what's your next question?" I said, "So Adam and Eve had three children, right? Cain, Abel, and Seth." I said, "We know that Cain killed Abel." I said, "So, but then there's a mention of Seth having this wife. Where did she come from?" She said, "Oh, that was his sister." I said, "Oh, so then incest is okay?" She said, "I didn't say that." And she got frustrated and made me stand outside the class. Oop, I gotta plug in. My computer is giving me the message that it's gonna shut down. And again, it's that thing of shutting youth or young people down
Yes.
when they question us and when we don't have the answer to roll off our tongue.
Yeah. And we just
But
had that metaphor with the computer. If
yes,
we don't get them plugged in,
come on.
they, they are going to say, "Okay, I'm gonna just let that battery die, and I'm gonna go get me a new device."
Yes. As opposed to, let's have this conversation. I have these questions, and the why, that thing, people hate that why phase with kids. Why? And when you give them, they say, "But why? But why?" And sometimes we have to say, "I don't know. I just accepted it." Or let's find out together. And I love that even as a teacher, same thing in the youth ministry. I say, "Oh, tell you what, next Sunday, let's all do some research. And when we come back, we talk about it."
Yes.
Because I don't have to have all the answers, but we can take this journey and unpack it together. Because you've asked me something that as opposed to, a lot of kids get labeled troublemakers, they get shut down because their brains and they're thinking outside the box, as opposed to, we have to nurture that. Ask me some more difficult questions.
You're gonna make me, now I got to go do some homework.
Thank you. Let me go read another book, as opposed to. And so for me, it's always been about that, having the spiritual alignment of the messages and what we're teaching, but also making the space user-friendly and using performing arts and music, and then also engaging the parents, because a lot of times, just like a teacher, you discover things about some young people. And sometimes the parents knew the child had this challenge, but didn't tell us.
Yes.
Brought them to Sunday school, didn't say anything. And I'm like, there's one child, I was like, okay, he's on the spectrum. And he's seriously on the spectrum. And why would they bring him and not say to us? And that sense is either shame or. So after we met with them, I said, "You have to tell us these things so we can now make space for this child." And then could the kid said, "Sir, he might demon in him." I said, "Oh, nope. And we said, let's talk about that." And we said, "This is called so and so and so. It makes it, and some days he'll have good days or something." And after a while, the kids warmed. They learned this new version, and they took care of him. They were kinder. They said less unkind things. They could recognize when he was about to have an episode, but before he was the other. And they learned that in school. And we in the space, I kept saying to them, nobody's going to be picked on in here.
Yeah.
Nobody is less than in here. You are all amazing. And if you have a question, we talk about it. And again, so many of them saying that's not happening in our schools, So that, I think it's so important for that consistency with that spiritual thing of that, you are beautiful, you are amazing, and so is everybody else.
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, and I'm just struck by, I've been in this philosophy, this teaching, probably just over 20 years now. That whole time, there are certain things I continually hear. And one of those is generally in referring to adult education is that phrase, well, people are coming in with a greater understanding now. So we don't have to work. People are more advanced when they're coming into the classes. And so the education changes. And we never talk about the fact that if that's happening in the adult world, that's happening in the youth world too. So kids are coming into our Sunday programs. They are coming into family-based events and retreat events and conferences like Celebrating My Soul at an advanced stage to where our education, quote, wants to assume or wants to label or wants to compartmentalize them into this, that, or the other container. And we have to be willing to be the open vessel that will learn from them. And what I really like is, as you're saying, is we learn from them by making space for them to be them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm glad I took that pause for you to drop that in there, because now I'm even more hyped. In that, I'm just hyped today. I love this topic. In that, because when we look at indigenous cultures, and again, I can speak more to diaspora, which is why we're having this conference. The primary lesson or the primary teaching tool in indigenous cultures around the world is story. It is song.
Yep.
It is dance.
Yeah.
Written, all it appears that all cultures, if not most of them, if not all of them, had some kind of written script. But that was to keep track of the sheep and the horses and how many coins we got. It was not used to tell life stories. It was not used, as you say, Fabian, to pour into the community, not just pour into everybody. Right. And what we've done, we've gotten away from the story. And we've allowed other people to tell us, not only tell us the story, but tell us the only part we can play in the story are these.
Yep.
And when we can begin to get our children back to that by telling the story, because it becomes reciprocal, right? Let's tell this big story, but in a small way, we're telling your story. But when you tell your story, you're telling my story. And then our story make the big story. And so now we're in this perpetual wheel. It's like Ezekiel saw the wheel in the wheel, way up in the middle of that. And that's where we got to go.
I just watched this new animated film called Sea Beast, and I made a post online and said, people with children, please watch this film and unpack it with your kids, because a little girl, the beast is to be killed. These are sea beasts that are terrorizing mankind, and we must kill them. And she'd read all these, and then when she's on it, she stows away and she comes face to face with the beast, and then she's realized, she's like, look, something else is going on. Like she didn't attack us. She wasn't attacking us. She was afraid. So she starts to say, well, maybe we are the problem. She's like, maybe, and then she starts to, and then of course it now becomes, she realized that the books were written, the books were lies because of who wrote the book.
Yes.
Yeah. So who wrote the book wrote it so that these beasts became the enemy and became hunted. And she toppled out on his head and she said, no. And the guy who was she said, no, we have to, she's not threatening us, and she's actually saved us. And so she starts to think a new thought and write a new script.
Yes.
Because she said, these are lies. This is not true. And it's such a powerful and important story, but also a reality. Who wrote that? Who told you this about yourself? When did you start to believe that? And sometimes you have to erase those tapes and play a new song.
Yes.
That thing of the origin story. Who are your people? Where did they come from? What is their history? What is their culture? What is, and even it's so amazing to hear, as you say, what I teach some cultural studies classes, and I say to people, anywhere in the world that's listening to music that has rhythm, it came from Africa. Africa gave the world rhythm. The polyrhythm came from Africa. I said, so let's start there. Everything, they were like, what? I said, the polyrhythm came from Africa, which means music and musicality started in Africa. And sometimes these are even Black students who don't know. Same thing, I teach a course on Bob Marley. And a lot of times the foreign students or students from other Caribbean islands know more about Bob and reggae than some of the Jamaican students.
Yeah.
At the end of the course, they're saying, I had no idea. I didn't know he went through this. I didn't know that. And then the whole thing, like, Jamaica, this little speck on the map, has given the world 7 genres of music, from mental, and those things, those stories. I keep saying that when we carry our history, our identity, we carry the truth of who we are, and New Thought helps us unpack that. So everywhere you go, you realize that I'm a psalm, I am a testament, I'm a psalm. And I like to say to people, somebody survived something. That's why I'm here. So I have to do a work. I have to show up in a certain way because I'm standing on the shoulders of some people who survived and also those who did not.
As they say, come on, somebody. Because the thing that you, again, just my mind is just, I'm going to have to take a nap after we close here. It's this whole idea of polyrhythms, right? Because polyrhythms are multiple rhythms within one gigantic rhythm, right? So it's not just a simple boom, 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 boom. It's a boom, boom, boom. And underneath that is boom, 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 boom. And so now you begin to tell a story with multiple rhythms that once it all comes together, there's one sound. There's one beat. There's one song that's being played. And when we can use these as the teaching tools for the youth, for the old, for the everybody,
time.
Now we're gonna be celebrating some real soul.
There you go.
We're gonna be playing, and it's gonna be
because in reggae notorious counts on the offbeat. So a lot of non-Jamaican, when they learn it, they say, "But this is not the right count because we're playing in the middle of that second and third beat." Just like jazz, when they came to see these black unlettered people playing this noise, because no real art can come from these people, these poor folk in the South, these sharecroppers. This is how can jazz and blues be real music? And then when some academics start to say, "Oh, but wait a minute," or when a white person had a hit with it, it became art. But they learned from these people because it's like, well, how can these people be creating art? And I'm like, because the blues singers kind of said, "Look, I'm broke, I can't pay my rent," and the audience understood that. And yet they created this sound and that whole idea of helping our youth and even those of us who are not so young. Like I said, what is our origin story? Who are your people? What did they create? A lot of Jamaicans had family who helped to build the Panama Canal. They went there and never came back. So there's a whole Jamaican community there now. The Jamaicans Windrush, who went to England to help build England, then faced horrible racism, had to dig deep into who they are. I was born in England, but my parents, it was very clear. They were like, okay, so we're not from here. They don't want us here, and we're not staying here. So they came back to Jamaica when I was 7. Because my dad they were clear. They're like, this is where we are right now, but they don't want us here, and we're not staying. So when I was 7, they moved back to Jamaica, and we've been here ever since. I've traveled to London since then, but it's that whole idea of who are you? Where do you come from? Who are your people? And then also now, why are you here?
Yes. And see, that whole thing there just in my mind capsulizes jazz, right? Your story, because jazz offbeat music is an improvisation over the top of some foundation, if you will. And so now when I can get into the blues, and the foundation is I'm in a bad way right now, but I can improv in that blues and make something beautiful or make something healing. Or I can be in the jazz or in my family or whatever it is, and I can improv out of this situation.
Yes.
And that's what's so exciting to me about what we, are streaming for in terms of the youth.
Yes.
Is that we need you to come here and be improvisational, because I can't describe to you with any clarity what situations you're going to find yourself in. No matter how much I describe to you what a mango tastes like, until you eat the mango, you got no idea what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Folks, we have officially reached that point where Elzia is talking about eating mangoes. I'm gonna get a rubber chicken to wait along in the future. Every time we get to that mango story. So we're laughing and having a good time here, folks. We need to take one more brief moment before we wrap up to say thank you to our sponsors and our committed givers. We're not going away, though. Stay with us. We'll be back in 37 seconds with final thoughts. You're listening to New Thought Today and here on the New Thought Media Network. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.
All right, folks, we're back on New Thought Today here on the New Thought Media Network. This happens every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. We want to say thank you to Fabian for being with us today. I need to find a map for my wall so I can start putting pins of all the places, of all the people we have interviewed. Fabian, you'll go down in history as the first man from Jamaica that we've had on the program. And we really hope that you would come back and visit us again sometime.
Thank you. I'd love to.
Absolutely. Folks, there is still time to register for the Celebrating Our Soul conference. It happens in Unity Village starting in, just 15 days, August 11th. This is their website, padntg.org. Look at this list of keynote speakers. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, Reverend Dr. Sheila McKeithen, Reverend Celeste Frazier, Reverend Dr. Derek Wells, who I got to hear for the first time this past week as well, Bishop Jack Bomar, Reverend James Trapp, Bishop Yvette Funder, and Reverend Sylvia Sumter. Our own Reverend Alzia will be there as a workshop presenter.
Yes.
We've been talking today with Fabian Thomas, who's part of the youth team. And you mentioned John Stringer a little earlier. So
yes.
We had him on the show back on June 28th. Check out that interview in the archives, folks. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Before we go, we want to share some final thoughts and give everybody a last chance before we run out of time. Alzia, let's get started with you today.
Hey, excitement. For me, that my final word is find you some excitement. That's what Fabian has done. I'm sitting here chomping at the bit for that whole experience of celebrating our soul, and I think my excitement that I take to that conference, to that space, is going to create space, as Fabian so beautifully said, to create space, to make space, and I'm just excited. So the word is be excited to create space.
Fabian, sir.
For me, Reverend Mary Tompkins has a beautiful little book. Before You Pray, Forgive, and and there's a line that just jumped out and hit me in my chest, and it said, "There is no evolution without involution." And for me, and I have a saying that I have it in a little meme as well, that we cannot be our better selves today by being who we were yesterday. It's just not going to happen. So are we doing that work to be our better selves each day, and shedding some stuff and thinking a new thought and therefore showing up differently?
Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you. Last week in Chicago at the International New Thought Alliance 107th Congress, there was a theme that emerged, and that is that all of us in New Thought, we're all part of the same family. Might come from a little bit different background, a little bit of a different upbringing, but we all found the truth in a way that we could hear. And I love what's happening at Celebrating Our Soul, because what I get is it's presenting this philosophy in ways that a number of different demographics, different groups, if you will, can hear the message of New Thought. And I find it great because I'm meeting all kinds of brothers and sisters and cousins and uncles I didn't have, and I didn't know that I had, and now we do. So part of what New Thought Media Network's all about is creating just that, a network of like-minded individuals supporting the evolution of human consciousness through the New Thought philosophy. Fabian, you are absolutely doing that. And I personally love having you as a part of the family. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Thank you.
Folks, we've done run out of time, so we'll be back again next week. Please plan to join us. Do share, like, and subscribe. Let your friends know what you like about New Thought Media Network. Until next time, we wish you peace and richest blessings.
Blessings.